So this in my hand is a 250 frame built with 4-inch arms, a special limited run of 3500 kV Aerolite motors, and well, this isn't actually really what I'm trying to talk to you guys about today. This is just really a shameless plug for all of you 4-inch fans out there that might want to build a 4-inch 250. No, this is really more of just the test quad that I was using for what I really want to talk about, which is that guy right there. So inside this is the Runcam Link Phoenix HD system. So finally, DJI has opened up the camera offerings to somebody other than Caddx. We finally got options, right? So how does it stack up to the Caddx Polar camera? And the reason why I'm going to compare it to that is for two reasons. One, at the time of making this video, those are kind of the only two options you guys have. The second thing is when you start to look at the specs between these two cameras, you start to realize that they're both kind of aimed at this starlight category of cameras where really they're going to excel in low light level conditions. So let's jump straight into it. I'm not going to talk about the air unit itself because they're all the same. They're all provided by DJI. And really the only difference is going to be the camera and in some cases the antenna. For instance, here's the antenna that comes with the Runcam Phoenix system. And here's the antenna that comes in the Caddx Polar system. So really, at the end of the day, what we're talking about are differences within the camera. Or are they really all that different? Because when you look at the specs, here's the thing. They're actually kind of similar. Let's take the field of view, for instance. On the Runcam Phoenix, what you'll notice is that the field of view is just ever so slightly smaller than the Polar. So you'll have a little bit of a narrower field of view there. When it comes to the sensor size, they're kind of close. The Caddx Polar camera is just ever so slightly bigger, coming at 1/1.8 inches, which works out to like 0.55 something inches. Basically really close to Runcam's half-inch sensor. The aperture also is slightly different. We are at 1.6 on the Caddx Polar versus 1.8 on the Runcam Phoenix. So, at the end of the day, there's not a whole lot different. Oh, well, you know, I also should mention that the Runcam Link Phoenix HD system is coming in at 27 grams, at least that's what it says on the box, versus the 30 or 31 grams for the Caddx Polar. So if you're looking for the absolute lightest HD setup, the Runcam Phoenix is the winner here. But other than that, I feel like these numbers are very, very close. So let's jump straight into the flight footage and you guys can decide for yourself. So I'm not going to tell you which camera is which. I'm just going to go back and forth between cameras A and camera B and letting you guys decide for yourself which is the better picture, which camera do you think is going to work better for you. And as you watch these things, I am going to comment on the fact that I do absolutely, without a doubt, notice that these are 60 frame per second cameras versus the 120 found on the original DJI, Vista, and Nebula Pro cameras. The other thing that kind of sucks is that there is no adjustment on these cameras. So you are stuck in 16:9 mode. There is no adjustment for color or saturation or white balance or anything like that, like you would find on the original cameras. Basically, what you see is what you get. So I apologize that I didn't get to get any footage in a bright, sunny condition. It's just been overcast out here by the coast lately. However, given the fact that these cameras were made for low light, I figured this might be a good representation of what you could expect. And here's a shot at night. So one of the pros that I would say with one of these cameras is that at least out here in California, we are losing daylight, which means if you're the type to go out and fly, maybe after work, having a camera that does really, really well actually in these low-level dusk conditions is definitely beneficial. Now, whether or not you're going to be flying at night, I don't know. However, this is what you can expect from these cameras. And just in case you guys were wondering exactly how dark it is, here's what it looks like shot on my iPhone. It is absolutely dark here, and really there's just very few light sources. All right, time for the big reveal. Which camera is which? Did you get it right? So there's a couple of things that we got to talk about here. First of all, 60 frames per second. Now, I've only always flown in 120 frames per second on the original DJI cameras, the Vista and the Nebula Pro, and jumping into 60 frames per second on these, definitely something that I felt. And it was really more just during aggressive type flying. And what you notice is more motion blur. For me personally, it wasn't a huge bother, but it's definitely something that I noticed. The other thing is the higher latency. So again, I've only always flown in low latency mode, and jumping into these cameras, which is around 32 milliseconds, was also something that I noticed. However, for my flying style and the things that I was doing, it was definitely something that I was able to adjust to. I did notice that the Runcam Phoenix definitely produced a much softer image when compared to the Polar camera, and this really results in a little bit less clarity and less image detail, and for that I definitely choose the Polar camera. However, when it comes to absolute low light performance, I feel like the Phoenix has the edge because the overall image is slightly brighter. Now, this does kind of come in at the cost of more grain and noise in the Phoenix, so it actually might be a toss-up depending on who you are. Do you want the slightly better image but slightly grainy and noisier, or would you take the slightly dimmer camera but have more clarity and less noise? And now when it comes to the field of view, the Polar definitely looks a lot wider and you see a lot more information, which for freestyle purposes I prefer. However, I do like the fact that the Phoenix has a little bit more of a, I guess, linear look to it. I don't know if that's the right word. Has a little bit more of a true to life, or something that looks a little bit more realistic. And, you know, what am I trying to say here, Tommy? I feel like I can shoot a gap a lot easier with the Phoenix than I would the Polar. How about that? Let's just leave it at that. So hopefully this helps you guys make a decision as to which camera to get as of this time. But in conclusion, I really can't help but say and express that I really wish that this camera was a 120 frame per second low latency camera, because for me at least, my flying primarily occurs during the bright daylight, and that is what those cameras really excel at. Alright folks, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Peace out.